Some of them give you crazy numbers like, today we have 0 revenues, but in a year, we'll definitely make $30 million.
All right, guys, welcome to the BloomX podcast. Major announcement, we have a new sponsor, Tornet. Shout out to Dikshant, who came on our 14th episode of the podcast. He loved what we're doing so much that he wanted to show his support. Tornet is a great team for anyone looking to outsource their technology to, by the way. They work with a lot of startups. They work with a lot of full-form companies, organizations, universities. I've seen them do a lot of great work. So this is how they describe themselves. Tornet is a team of technology priests operating across 2 continents who preach the power of technology to make a meaningful difference in their customers' ecosystem. They're a powerhouse of technology enthusiasts who believe that business value chains can be improved with the help of technology solutions. So if you're looking for any kind of solution to get built out, any technology solution, definitely reach out to Tornet. They're a great team. Maria.
Hi.
Thank you for coming on the BloomX podcast.
Thank you for inviting me.
We met at the Athletic Tech event
did
summit.
Meet there, yes.
Yeah, Athletic Tech Summit. Met there. So you are a senior, let me get this right, senior manager, account manager.
Yes.
At BDC.
Correct.
On the technology group.
Correct.
Perfect. And we just want to put up a disclaimer right now that you're here representing yourself, not the BDC.
That is right. All opinions are my own, and I do not speak on behalf of BDC right now.
Perfect. Awesome. And one of the things I want to talk to you about, because through your work, through your line of work, I mean, you work with a lot of startups right now, and which is a new thing, right? As you've recently become involved with the BDC in this kind of line of work, but through it, you've been able to talk to different startups, different companies, in different industries. So I would imagine you have a great bunch of insight to share with us on what you think is happening in tech and in startups in general. So before we even get to that, right? So what is your story like? Are you from Toronto? You're originally from Russia, you said?
Yeah, for sure. So I moved from Russia to Canada about 10 years ago, and moved first to Calgary. Went to University of Calgary there, graduated. Joined banking industry because I thought that would be great to learn how companies fail. So decided to do commercial banking and then moved to Toronto about 3 years ago. And now I'm here and I have been focused on tech industry and tech companies here in Toronto.
Perfect. So you got into banking to understand companies and how they fail.
Correct.
So you always had an interest in how companies form and develop, yeah?
Yeah, I've always been interested in startups and entrepreneurs. It was very interesting to see how people get the courage to venture out there and start their own thing and grind it out. And it was awesome to see it in university because a lot of students had side hustles and internet businesses and consulting businesses. So I got involved really early. I did a lot of consulting while I was at university on the side.
Yeah.
In similar settings like this where you go to university, you have a group of students working on something and you help them out with strategy, marketing, B2B sales, BDC sales, whatever it was. And from there, I just figured that it would be good to learn a little bit more, maybe learn from more mature companies, learn to see how they fail, how they grow, and join commercial banking. Did quite a lot of that, and then recently joined BDC to focus only on tech companies to see how they fail, grow, succeed, get money.
That's amazing. So I find like you can share some interesting stories there.
Oh yeah.
Anything in particular you could highlight, like?
Not probably the ones that I've seen so far. I mean, a lot of them are fantastic, but we'll have to see how they play out. Once there's this unicorn that comes out, I will tell you that, oh yeah, I knew those guys. I helped them. But one of the stories that I heard at Elevate, I don't know if a lot of people know, about the company called Away.
Okay.
It's a luggage case company.
Okay.
Do you know? No?
No.
Okay. So Jen Rubio started the company about 3 years ago, three and a bit in New York. And she was a baker, I think, or her co-founder was a baker. She started the company. They were supposed to create their luggage case December. Didn't happen, realized that it won't happen. Well, what do? They write a book. They write a traveling and lifestyle book with some influencers, put a gift card into the book of the size of the luggage case, of the amount of the luggage case. Sell out of the books, create an offline and online community around the lifestyle brand. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Then create a magazine, then create finally the luggage case they were supposed to create, but because of all the community work that they've already done and built on social media, they become a $1 billion company in 3.5 years.
That's
It
okay.
is, it just shows you how there's no right or wrong way to enter the market. It just depends on your strategy.
That's what I've heard the name way before,
Yeah.
but the reason I probably don't know much about it is because you hear so much of these luggage-based companies coming up, and you're like, what the heck's going on?
Exactly.
How much need could they be for luggage? But that's interesting in the way they became successful, right? Like creating a community around their brand and their identity first, and marketing that.
Because a lot of companies focus on creating the product, then
Yeah.
building the community around it, and building the hype, building the authentic relationships with their customers. And sometimes, that creativity where you create something else, build up to it, and then release the product to your community, which was fascinating how they did it. And I mean, they succeeded in 3 and a bit years.
Yeah, I mean, that's really interesting. Is there any other instances the company has done anything like that that we can point out?
I mean, there's a few that have done that on a smaller scale, but I think that one was really the unicorn, because a lot of them tap into it a little bit here and there, where somebody releases, bloggers do it a lot of the times where they release tips for marketing, or a PDF where you'll put your email address and collect their people's data. But they do it on a smaller scale, and you don't really see a lot of unicorn status companies use the strategy and succeed as fast as Away did. So I think that one.
Yeah, for the size of a company to develop using that strategy, that's insane.
Oh yeah.
And I think it's mostly because like how easy technology has made it to like become an influencer, right? To reach an audience, to build that community. The tools are readily available. There's multiple social media networking sites, right? You have the marketing ability to build up marketing material very cheaply. The tools are there out there for you.
That's a good thing and a bad thing at the same time, because you have the curse of choice. There's a lot of tools, there's a lot of things going on. I try to catch up with a few of my friends who are in LA and they own their marketing businesses, and they usually give me an update on the trends and what's going on in the social media marketing space.
Yeah.
And what they told me that 2 years ago, they used to have the ability to buy all those bots and actually grow the following that the social media brands have.
Yeah.
Now Instagram blocked that because Instagram wants to make sure that you use their actual paid advertising capability.
Yeah.
So fascinating how that completely changed how companies market to their consumers. So one of the things now that you can only do is mass viewing of stories, which is not really that impactful as buying a bunch of accounts and creating a 10,000 fake following on Instagram, but kind of starts building the hype. So the only way now to create the following is actually to connect with your viewers and create that offline and online community and be authentic and build the relationships, answer to every comments. That's why, the ratios when the companies try to buy social media engagement online, they look not at followers or likes, they look at actually the comment box and how many people are interacting with each other and what kind of audience you have. So it's a completely new space all around.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, I mean the change, especially in the marketing industry, has been rapid, right?
Oh yeah.
Because you see now the emergence of few people now can run an agency, if they want to.
Just like this.
Yeah.
It's easy. It's easy. But it's also, because market is becoming so oversaturated, it is tough to scale.
Yeah.
And I think the companies that are actually able to do something like that, they're the ones who create some kind of interesting marketing strategy. So I think a lot of companies that I've seen succeed, even in my line of work, all of them had some kind of good market strategy, whether it's B2C, B2B, doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong way.
Yeah. I listen to a lot of Gary Vee.
Oh yeah, crushing it, that's right.
Crushing it.
180, I love his 180 strategy. Do you know about that one?
No, can you elaborate? Yeah.
Oh yeah, so he talks about 180. So 2 cents, you pick 10 hashtags, 9 relevant posts for that hashtag, and you leave your 2 cents on all those posts in the comments. But they have to be relevant to the picture. So not just, oh my goodness, amazing, and copy paste to every post. No, you have to actually look at the person's Instagram, see what they're interested in, see what's going on in their life, and try to connect. And so he says that, this is the only way he built his community following. And for the first year or however long, he had no engagement. Nobody commented, nobody replied, and then overnight, it seemed like it scaled. But it wasn't overnight. He put a lot of work, manual work into it. So one of these strategies is if you actually want to learn and grow your community and have those authentic followers and first adopters for your business, this is how you do it. 180.
Jeez, I mean, that's cool that you put it into like a strategy like
Oh,
that, easy to follow. I mean, I'm starting to realize the importance of it and also how much work is required now that I'm running this podcast.
Are you doing it?
We're
Are you
starting
commenting?
Yeah,
Liking
yeah. So I
everything?
make sure like someone comments, we comment back. You like their comment, right?
Yeah.
The engagement, the social engagement. But what I'm so bad at is like reaching out across like strangers, right, and commenting on them, try to build that kind of closeness. You're right. I didn't even think of it till actually right now that we should be doing that because the tools are there.
Tools are there. It's just manual work right now, you know.
Yeah.
Every day, what he says is set up, 20 minutes. And that's what my friends say. Post twice a day or, do this marketing strategy twice a day, morning and afternoon, take 20 minutes. It adds up and it's a lot of time. And once you guys decide to scale and, hire a company, I think that's where a lot of work will come for a lot of people. Setting up those companies that can take care of the posting, the liking, the authentic commenting for the community. But they usually say that, you got to build your community first so you have a vision of where you want to go with it. And then you can outsource it to someone and help them to understand how to maintain it.
Yeah.
So
after you identify what your brand identity is, what your aesthetic is, all those kind of things, you can communicate that better. And since you've built it first, it's more authentic that way.
Correct. Yep. So that's.
Yeah. I mean, what do you find about like these companies who necessarily don't want to take that route, right? They put in that effort. They just want to have some kind of
There's no shortcuts to success. It's one of the things Gary Vee teaches us. So
yeah.
There's no shortcuts.
But I mean, do you feel like every company should be pursuing this as a main tactic, or it should be just part of their arsenal of marketing tools? Like,
I think every company should invest on social media and social media platforms and set a budget behind it, whatever that might be, whether it's an Instagram influencer, Facebook ads, Facebook groups, LinkedIn posting, whatever that might be. I think it's important for every company to do it. To spend a lot of time on it, it depends what kind of product or service you provide, but you probably should. Depending on your brand, even if it's a tech company, you have to have certain amount of social media, whether it's Instagram or Facebook. You gotta have it nowadays.
Yep.
It's credibility, I think. At the end of the day, it's credibility, your brand exposure.
It's true.
People would never buy from you if they don't know who you are. And the social media tools are one way to tell your story about your brand and tell everyone what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the main reasons. That's why how sales has evolved, right? Like pre-internet to now. Like before, sales used to be
knocking on doors. Now you're doing the same thing, but differently. You're sliding into the DMs.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the touch points are easier.
Yeah.
Right, but now it's being authentic and providing information. Before you take advantage of people's lack of awareness or lack of knowledge, you being the person who has knowledge, the gatekeeper now, gives them knowledge and then converts on a deal. That's how it used to be. Now it's about providing as much as you can for free, all your knowledge, all your sets, your packages and your benefits.
Yeah.
Your benefits you can offer to that customer for free, and then convert now because you become a thought leader in their minds, where you're the person to come for that kind of need.
That's by far how the most successful Instagram influencers became famous. They always say that, before they had a couple million followers, they started in their bedroom with a blog and posting all the time, 24/7, spending on social media 12 hours a day and just giving out content, advice, tips, whatever it was for free. And then at some point, they got enough exposure, they got some advertising deals, and it all started scaling.
Yeah, and this is important for, I think, any kind of, not just influencers in that kind of particular category, but like anyone who's trying to build something for themselves, entrepreneur, right, an activist, because use these tools they're not using in this age is like giving up a big resource.
Absolutely.
Being able to communicate your vision and your concept out to a wider audience to find the right talent to support you.
Yeah.
I think it's crucial, but also it's a great strategy to use. Do you talk much about this? Like, do you promote the use of social media in entrepreneurship, or?
I usually ask every company that I see, what are they doing? Because there's one way to know how you're going to create your product, your MVP, where you're going to find money. But I think go-to-market strategy is very, very important, because at the end of the day, if you can't find the leads or convert them, create a sale, there's not going to be any revenue. So all the fancy forecasts that I get don't matter because I know that you don't know your customer. So for a lot of people, you really need to understand who that valuable, authentic customer is.
Yeah.
Who are you targeting? Who are going to be those loyal people who are going to spend money on your product or service? And one of the ways is for me to find out, how much are you spending on social media? Or what are your products? What is your strategy? And I mean, BDC has one of the products that can tailor towards marketing strategy spend. And there's also Clearbank that helps with, marketing spend. So there's a lot of ways out there to fund that marketing spend. So I think it's becoming more popular to ask those questions.
Great. So let's touch more on BDC.
Sure.
Right. So what is the Business Development Bank of Canada?
Yes.
Right. What is their motive? Like, what do they want to do? What do you guys want to do?
Yeah. So the main job is to support entrepreneurs. It's a crown corporation, and we are focused on supporting Canadian companies in Canada, regardless of what industry they're in. I mean, there's some eligibility criteria, but we just want to make sure that the economy grows, the companies stay in Canada, and help other people to find employment. Because if we fund the company and we help it grow, we hope that more people will be employed by the company and we'll just benefit all around.
Okay.
So our job is to support entrepreneur early on to make sure that they get all the tools and resources they need. And right now I'm acting as a trusted person or connector in the industry. Because a lot of the times I see a lot of startups or younger companies who ask me all kinds of questions. Oh, I need funding, or I need advice. I need strategy. I need to understand where to go. How do I expand? And there's a lot of companies out there who can provide help with that. So my job is to make sure that I can connect them to all the right stakeholders, whether it's advisors or funds, or maybe someone I know in a marketing agency or photography, whatever that might be. Chances are I'll know someone or someone will know someone.
Yeah.
Truly believe in this 5-degree separation rule that, if you ask someone, there will be some connection to something that you need or want.
And what's one of the most important things in the innovation economy when you're trying to build something is you need to know connectors.
Oh, yeah.
People who at least know the people you need to know.
Absolutely.
And help figure out what it is that you need to know. As an entrepreneur, as a founder for any kind of anything new you're doing, there's a lot of these unknowns, and that's the scariest part. Like things you don't even know, you need to know.
Yeah.
So a lot of people look out for mentors, advisors, and even connectors like yourself who can connect into the right resources they might not even know that exist out there is super important. So kudos on you for doing so. But let's talk more about the type of companies that fall under your portfolio. So you work on the technology sector.
Yes.
What kind of companies do you see?
Every single one. So it's funny, we don't really have a defined rule of what technology means. It can be software as a service, hardware as a service, any business in IoT, artificial intelligence, virtual reality, pharma tech, platform, an app, media, anything that has a tech component of some sort of another will be in my portfolio potentially.
Yep.
Or I can talk to a company and say, hey, you know what? We can find you funding or figure out what we can do for you.
Yep.
So I look at all of them, and that's why I probably see, 20 to 30 companies a week, and they're all different, and you spend time anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, and you just get to listen to what they have to say about their product, service, what problem they're solving, what are they struggling with, and when do they need help, and where do they need help, or what are the next milestones are. And they also educate you a lot about their business, because there's no way you can know everything about industry. So a lot of the entrepreneurs really, tell you all about their market, give you their pitch deck, and tell you about how it works, what kind of multiples they get in their industry. So I get to learn a lot as well, and that's what makes it the best job ever.
No, absolutely. I mean, be able to see people who are doing so many cool things in so many industries, especially within tech. I mean, I can imagine you've heard a lot of cool pitches, cool ideas.
There's a few companies that, ask me, what do they do? What are they supposed to do? Raise money in Canada or go to the US? And they walk you through their model, and some of them give you crazy numbers like, today we have 0 revenues, but in a year, we'll definitely make $30 million because this is our market. I think at one point, one of the entrepreneurs I talked to just at a networking event, he told me that his potential market, well, his actually market for his product is 7 billion people. And I was like, no, that's how many people are in the world.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, but my product will be available and usable by all of the people. I was like, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Tell me more. So
Yeah.
you meet interesting cases of people who are very, very excited about their idea and very passionate.
They're exponential thinkers.
Yes,
right?
yes, that's right. I do it. Exponential thinkers.
Yeah. Right. They see like rapid growth, rapid deployability, but then the execution.
Execution is the main thing. You can have all these dreams and ideas, but if you can't execute the right way, not gonna happen.
Cool. So seeing these kind of companies, right? Like we mentioned, kind of like the hyper focus now of like there's tech, but there's tech in everything.
Yes.
Pharma tech. Like I guess I was talking earlier this year to a innovation lab in PEI.
Yeah.
Right, and they have fisheries tech, right? So technology that makes like crab farming, like crab hunting, like easier, like smart crab traps, right? It's a thing, right? So there's tech being implemented in all different industries now. So the one we see a hyper like specialization of industrialization of like tech coming in particular industries.
Yeah.
And then also the cross collaboration of tech being able to merge different industries together, right? Do you see any like emerging patterns in like what kind of tech is coming out?
I think everybody is trying to get into AI.
Yeah.
I mean, machine learning,
Yes.
but everybody says AI. It's like this new hot word that everybody uses on their website and their pitch decks. You know, you ask them how they're going to analyze their data, it's going to be AI. So a lot of the times you have to ask a lot more questions. What does that mean? And then once you dig deeper, a lot of people say, oh, well, once we develop the technology further, that's what we're envisioning.
Yeah.
So I think it will be exciting to see what happens. You need to have a lot of data for AI to work. So we're not there yet, but get in there. So I think that's the common denominator in a lot of companies. And you're right, a lot of companies right now are getting into tech one way or another. Any company that was brick and mortar are getting another source of revenue. You know, maybe this new software thing that they did or a sensor they developed. Any manufacturing plant just tries to get this recurring revenue model. And that's another new thing that everybody's trying to do because they realize your valuations are higher.
Yeah.
If you get your revenue model in perpetuity, it's great.
Yeah.
So everybody's trying to, I think, step away from licensing and then get the subscription model services, where you just
because it's easier to because it's easier to show the growth pattern, right? The hockey stick graph.
Yeah.
So then you can like raise as like a multiple of your revenue.
Oh,
or
absolutely.
Potential revenue.
Investors love it. You know, because in their eyes, your business could be making money forever. So it's great. So I think those are the main trends right now, and very fortunate to be in the industry because I think 5 or 4 years ago, it wasn't the case that everybody could be in tech because we were very heavily focused on people who can develop the code or understand how to code or figure out, the technical parts of the business. Now we're getting more into, people selling tech companies or people selling money to tech companies or people in sales getting involved with tech, but selling the technology, telling the story. So it's getting more exciting that way, which is fascinating.
Yeah, it's interesting to say that because like the tech has such a problem with sales, as I was mentioning before in a previous podcast, right? Like technical mind people have a hard time hiring the right people or valuing sales.
Yeah.
A lot of engineers have this type where it's like, if I build it, people will come because it's so amazing.
Absolutely.
Right?
It doesn't always happen.
They don't really invest in like the type of like the people required to push the vision, to push like how great this product is. They're like, if this is so great, people will come to me.
Absolutely.
It's great you seeing like the connectability of the sales industry of how they're now utilizing the technical capabilities of different companies and selling, right?
Yeah.
Where like even we do this, right? So we do sales outsourcing for tech companies.
Ooh.
And now what we do is now we have, the supply has been crazy. The amount of tech companies who want to outsource their sales because they're all having issues with this. So now we have the choice of working with the type of companies and type of industries we want. And we're connecting them now to the...
You can raise your prices, supply and demand market, that's how it works.
Yeah.
Raise your prices and...
So we're pretty much developing a two-sided marketplace where people who want to sell
Yeah.
are connecting with people who want things to be sold, right? And we're developing this, and we're seeing this explosion of need of people like, we are down to outsource this. right? We're willing to work on how making our product really great, but if you can help us communicate how great it is, perfect. We'll pay for that, right? And it's been a great validation of my hypothesis when I started this last year. And yeah, like these companies want to focus on building great solutions to a problem they want, but they're not necessarily in the mind state to be able to communicate that, right? Yeah, I mean, do you agree with this? Like, do you see companies struggle with sales? Like,
I would say that, you know, a lot of people build the product, as you said, and I mean, we've explored different models, different business models, and figuring out how to scale the business, agile methodologies, and scaling lean. And I think the important part is to build a product for the problem that you see in the market, to make sure that you're solving something. And that's the usual thing that, you know, everybody knows, but I think a lot of people forget once they start building the product, because a lot of people are just so ingrained in whatever their solution is, because it's awesome. And they forget to actually go back into the market and iterate and test and see what the customer actually wants. So it's important to make sure that you consistently tap back into your market as you develop the product, because otherwise you'll develop something that customers wanted 3 months ago. Now they want something completely different. So whenever you actually develop and bring that thing into the market, nobody will buy it. And you just wasted your time. So yes, absolutely. One of the things as sales team, iteration to make sure that you're consistently building and improving something that customers want, and working with those two throughout the process. It's, you know, it has to be a faster cycle. Now we live in the time of, you know, fast-paced economy. You have to constantly innovate and constantly go back and forth, get feedback from your customers to make sure you have them and you keep those authentic, loyal, and committed people.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So this is exciting that the Toronto's tech scene right now is
it's booming.
It's booming, right? The last 2 years.
Oh yeah.
Right. I mean, we've seen some spectacular growth.
All the conferences. I mean, we had Collision in May. We had Elevate just passed by, which was crazy busy, and I mean, SaaS North is coming up. There's a lot of things happening, and Canada is becoming. Well, I mean, Canada is now one of the centers for tech. A lot of talent. It's cheaper talent because of the dollar, and I see a lot of U.S. companies coming and looking for Canadian talent, because at the end of the day, you can work from your laptop a lot of the times, right? You can be mobile. So it's, Toronto is definitely on the map.
Absolutely. I mean, you hit it right there. Like, I think being cheaper, the dollar, like we're 30 cents cheaper than American dollar to hire the same kind of talent. But I think it's also conversely is that before that, Canada used to be a hub for creating talent that leaves for the States or leaves somewhere else to go and make their mark, right? But nowadays, mostly because of the Trump era, right? People are staying here, right? A lot because the immigration has changed for the States. The H-1B visas are no longer being approved as much. So the visa program is not working. So a lot of the talent used to go to the States are coming to Canada as well. So the talent's accumulating here now. So companies are forced to come here.
I love it.
Right? And I think it's amazing for what's been done the last 2 years, like the boom coming. So do you think it's going to continue? Like, as more and more companies come in?
Oh, goodness. Everybody's saying we're going to have recession at some point. I mean, we're supposed to have it this year, maybe not this year, maybe next year. So I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see. It depends. It depends on the workforce, the companies that are coming in, what industries are going to scale, what happens to the real estate market. There's so many moving pieces that it's hard to predict. But do I think that Toronto will definitely stay on the map? Oh yeah, like we are here to stay with, you know, Raptors winning, and hopefully this year will happen again. There's a lot of things going on in Toronto, and the industry is so diversified that it's a good place to be right now.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, do you see yourself ever starting a company, a startup?
I don't know, maybe, you know, we'll see. We'll see if a great idea pops into my head. I'm always open. I have this entrepreneurial mind, which helps me, you know, to do my current job perfectly well. I don't know. Who knows? If you
would it be like a side hustle, like a Shopify store you run on the side, or like, you know, sell through Instagram as influencer marketing? Or what would you do? What's your ideal scenario? Or would you create like a company?
I feel like, you know, all the knowledge that I have would be wasted if I don't use it for building a company. So I think my initial response would be building a company. But if somebody wants to, make me an Instagram influencer, and if I have something valuable to provide, I will take that.
Awesome.
Probably not for consumer products, something, I don't know. I don't even know what I would Instagram on my Instagram to promote.
Definitely.
But yeah, I could try it. Why not? You know what?
Yeah.
The rule is never to say no to things. You always have to stay open to opportunities.
Yeah. I mean, you seem like a person, because we like you go out to these tech events all the time. You're highly personable. Right? The whole thing you do is talking to people. Right? Would you ever take that presence online? Do like an online, like a podcast like what we're doing right now, or even like an Instagram account dedicated talking about startups?
Be a competitor in your business? I don't know. It depends.
Yeah.
I think you guys have a good thing going. You have to have now something cool to talk about. And I think one of the other things Gary talks about is Alexa briefings and skills.
Yep.
He talks a lot about giving time back and figuring out how you can take the concept of, you're never buy more time. And at the end of the day, how do you help people to consume more in less time? And what are the next applications, platforms, and startups that are going to be doing that? And Alexa briefings and skills is one of the things that he mentions. I don't know if you know about it.
Yep.
Okay, so it's like mini chunks of, kind of like a podcast, but the Alexa briefings is only 2 minutes. They recommend 30 seconds to a minute, which is interesting. So I think maybe potentially I would look into that because I like the short bursts of energy.
Yeah. I think that's really interesting because like I do Google Assistant all the time.
Yeah.
Right? Like the Google Assistant for my alarms. So in the morning, my alarm goes off. Moment I dismiss it, after I snooze it like 3-4 times.
7 times now.
Yeah. Okay, 7 times. That's more accurate. That's actually more accurate. You dismiss it, like it starts playing a news briefing of things that I already prescribed before or liked before, right?
Yep.
And yeah, new and interesting stuff comes up all the time. And it's a great thing to listen to in the morning, doing your morning routine. And so similar to that, Alexa has and Google Home probably has like a news briefing that anyone can start making.
Correct.
It's a platform to develop.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think one of the things that Gary Vee is saying, those briefings are here to stay because people sometimes don't have the time for a full podcast or audiobook or, when you're doing something, some people are not good at multitasking.
Yeah.
So you can only stay focused for so long. So sometimes, I don't know if you get that. I definitely get that a lot because I do Audible books.
Yeah. Because
it's faster and easier on the go. But sometimes I'll be listening to something, 15 minutes in, and I'll snap back and realize that I totally missed the chapter. So I'd have to rewind it because I do not understand what we're going for here. What is happening. So I feel like the briefings would be my preferred way to live life going forward. If I need to learn something,
absolutely.
Just admit it.
Plus, it helps you, it's like a hook, right? Help you find what you're looking for or not even know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
So you listen to multiple of those and then find a topic that you want to explore more about, and that can direct you to the full-length podcast or full-length episode, right?
Or if you're interested on practices, meditation, whatever that might be, motivational speeches. Like if you're interested in a full TED Talk for an hour, 45 minutes, here's the link, but this is the main things you need to learn. One of the other apps is Blanklist.
Yeah.
I tried it out. It is pretty good. 15 minutes summary of the books, kind of like Spark Notes.
Yeah.
So I used to have them both, Blanklist and Audible, interchangeably.
So is it professionally done, or is amateurs doing this?
I would say, I don't know who is doing it on the backside, but I would say that sounds pretty professional, and I've done it to a few books that I've read myself, and they do a pretty good job. Of course, they can't summarize the whole book, but they give you the snippets, especially if you read books on leadership, business, strategy. It's really good to have Blanklist handy because they give you the snippets that you really need to know and really need to understand.
Yeah. It's one of the really interesting concepts that's introduced to me from Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan Experience.
Yes.
You listen to Joe Rogan Experience at all? The podcast? Yeah. So there's one thing he said. It's nowadays through the internet, mostly through YouTube and other apps like that. It's like the printing press being invented all over again. Just like what the printing press did to the written word, being able to reprint things and spread the written word at a faster rate, a cheaper rate to the masses. The internet is doing that to the spoken word, because now we can record in real time the spoken word at mass very cheaply, right, at great scale, and deliver it to a great scale.
Oh yeah.
So the spoken the word, the actual conversations from people, the mindsets are being now compressed, saved into formats that can be now delivered to other people's minds at a rapid scale. And it's a complete new transformation of how people are communicating and like getting information. So we're being more tightly bound as a society.
I mean, we're overloading ourselves with information.
That too.
Love
that
it.
too. Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, there's a lot more going on. I think one of the things that entrepreneurs have to be mindful of is to figure out how to focus on your business, but also give some time to yourself. So one of the things that I learned from Elevate, it was a good talk with Rachel David, and she was talking about the creator burnout. So a lot of people who create content on YouTube or Instagram or podcast, whatever the platform is, they live in the constant creation mode 24/7. And they forget that, sometimes it's important to step back and do something for yourself without trying to earn money or without trying to give something back to your community so you can grow more. And one of the things they recommend is, to make sure that you have something else that grounds you back to your values and to your why, whether it's painting or running or jogging or volunteering, whatever that might be for you, to do it on the side, apart from your business, apart from your side hustle, something that doesn't, necessarily have to make you money, which is kind of hard for, for me to tap into that because from my Russian mentality and Soviet Union upbringing, why would you waste time? But it's you gotta break that mindset. Sometimes it's just good to, be mindful, meditate, and take time for yourself.
So what do you do?
I jog a lot by the waterfront.
Nice.
Which is wonderful in Toronto.
Yeah.
I also paint. I actually recently got back into painting. I went to art school. For 10 years.
Wow.
And I stopped doing it because I didn't want to be a starving artist. It's one of those, Soviet Union mentalities.
So you went from being an artist to working in banking.
Right? The
That's a
safest
transformation.
thing you can do. I know, I love it. It's crazy.
Yeah.
No, I feel like you got to be a different kind of person that doesn't get stressed out by just creating something and taking time and seeing what if it doesn't work out.
Do you still create on the side? Like
not for sale. I mean, I might do something for you just because.
Oh, perfect.
But yeah, it's just on the side. Nothing too crazy, whether it's oil or watercolor.
Okay.
I mean, nothing.
Do you do any actual graphic design maybe on the computer?
So this is one of the things I wanted to see if I could tap into. I've been playing around with a few tools online and picture editing. I've been trying to tap into photography. I used to do modeling for a bit, but I realized I like to be on the other side of the camera. So unfortunately, photography wasn't for me. I always bring the huge camera with me on every traveling trip. I never bring it with me because it's too heavy and I don't like living behind the camera. So I found this thing where, I like when other people take pictures of the moments, but not myself. So creative process is important, and I think everybody should have something. I also like doing yoga. Highly recommend for everyone. Some of the most successful CEOs I've met, they say that, the way they stay grounded and succeed, they do the meditation practice every morning without fail, a couple minutes to just set their intentions, make sure that their day starts off right.
Amazing.
So highly recommend.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting more and more into that actually. You hear more people who are starting off the day with meditation. Even Henry was talking about the tenets of that.
Yeah.
And how that grounds them right from the beginning of the day.
Oh yeah?
Right, so I start off with a workout. Right, hit the gym right in the beginning of the day.
I like
it. Get the body stressed out right from the beginning, so you get that pump. Get your blood flowing, adrenaline running. So it's also the hardest thing to do, right? Getting to the gym.
What time do you wake up? Are you a 5 a.m. club member?
No, I'm a night owl.
What's going on?
So I stay up to 2 a.m. These guys get emails from me at 2, 3 in the morning, but I'm usually up by at least by 8 to hit the gym.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like it. And then you go to bed at 2 a.m.
Yeah, late. My creative side comes out of me at nighttime. So when I do anything creative, designing any graphics, any kind of new concept, kind of putting it into paper, after 6 o'clock p.m. onward, that's when it comes out, which is super frustrating because no one else is awake around that time, right? And no one else is working.
Perfect.
Right? But you get the time to yourself, and that's when I create.
Interesting. I like to wake up early, and I try to spend the first, couple hours.
You're a morning person?
Yeah, well, yes, I became a morning person recently because the 5 a.m. club.
Yeah.
has been this.
The 5 a.m. club. Yeah.
The main book you have to read, you have to learn, and you have to follow the rules. So I tried.
Yeah.
And it was definitely a challenge at first, but I think I'm getting into it. A few months into it, I'm trying to wake up at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Doesn't always work. Sometimes I hit the snooze button all the time.
Yeah.
7 times.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm trying to get into it, and the couple hours in the morning really help you to get your day started.
Yeah.
The gyms are usually empty.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. And you get into work. You already feel productive because you've been up for a few hours. And then unfortunately I go to bed earlier.
Yeah.
I can't stay up until 2 in the morning.
Yeah. I mean, like usually most days now I'm trying to push back, try to sleep earlier, wake up earlier, because I agree with you.
Yeah.
The tenets of like waking up like early, especially the 5 a.m. club, it's been proven that like get your day started earlier. You're prepared to meet the day when everyone else is just starting their productivity.
Yeah.
You're already at your productive moments, right? And it's been proven that in the mornings you get like the actual work you need done. First, you're kind of smooth.
Because your brain is fresh, and you just have all these ideas, all the blood flow. I also read somewhere, maybe it's definitely not a scientific magazine, but somewhere if you go to bed before 10 a.m., your body internally counts an hour before 12 a.m. So from 10, 11, and 11 to 12 as 2 hours. So apparently your body thinks that you're getting 4 hours of sleep in that time instead of 2. So that's how a lot of CEOs, go to bed at 10, wake up at 3, and start working.
Jeez.
Because their body thinks, okay, well, I got 4 hours here, and then I also got another 3 hours. That 7 hours is enough. I can start working at 3 a.m. So I've met a few guys who do that, and it is insane.
Yeah.
Tried it, doesn't work for me. So I think it's an acquired taste.
Yeah, I mean, definitely some people can work like that. I mean, Pradeep has a messed up sleep cycle. This guy's up all night sometimes, like all-nighters all the time. I don't know how you do it, man.
That's my creative side. For you guys in the morning, I have to be, mine's like after 1 in the morning.
Interesting. So when do you go to bed?
So sometimes it'll be at 4, 5 a.m., 6 a.m. I just feel like the world's sleeping, and that's when I can focus on me.
I like it.
So me and Pradeep, sometimes 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, we're exchanging ideas. Everyone else is like knocked out, gone.
He knows I'm awake.
Yeah, he's the only other person. So I'll have like a creative outburst, and I'm trying to like map it out, right? I'm like mapping out how this business is gonna work out.
moments.
Yeah, aha moments. Those happen to me later at night, and I'm like, yo, Pradeep, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And he's like, he's editing too, so we're on doing a phone call or like texting back and forth. Yeah.
So, a lot of filmmakers are like that.
Yeah.
Solving all the existential problems.
Yeah.
Love it. I mean, almost like bartending schedule.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
If you ever need a gig, you're set for it.
Yeah. Absolutely. So you mentioned you came from Russia like 9 years ago, right? I mean, what's that transition been like? It was like Russia is still catching up with capitalism, right? It's still.
Yeah, it's very different. I would say.
How's the mindset there when it comes to starting a business?
It's very way in Russia. A lot of people are very entrepreneurial because you got to hustle.
Yep.
The hard work mentality comes from that side as well. Whether it's Soviet Union, my mom was a single mom working 3 jobs, and it just the way it was. Like no other way. Like, what do you mean you don't work 3 jobs? So I think being brought up with that mentality, having a lot of interests, a lot of schools on the side, being always involved in whether it's ballet or art school, whatever that is, really helps currently nowadays. So what do you mean I don't have time for this? You always try to engage yourself in 17 different things. Starting a business, a lot of people do start businesses there, and I think you see a lot of it coming out in marketing, digital, in Russia as well. It's not as easy, I would say, as in Canada, I think, because culturally it's very different. In Russia, a lot of people, education is very important. There's no such thing as you drop out of university and start a business. Mm-hmm. In Russia, a lot of people have to go to school, to university, to just get a serving job. So I remember, growing up, that was how it was all the time. Like, you had to go to school, you had to go to university, and a lot of my friends had 2 majors, 2 minors, 3 degrees at the same time, because the more degrees you get, the more check marks you get, the better opportunities you get. So I think it's changed over the past 10 years. I really hope it has. But I think Canada is definitely, right now, a better market. There's only, 36 million people in Canada?
Yeah.
there's a lot of opportunity for growth, innovation, a lot more freedom, I would say, freedom of speech, freedom of thought, and a lot more openness. So yeah, definitely in that sense, a lot of difference.
Yeah. So what brought you here from Russia? Was it school? You said it was Calgary?
Yeah, we moved with my mom. My mom got a job in Canada, and we moved as a family. It was early in my high school career.
Yeah.
So I got into Canada and then finished up high school and then joined university and never looked back.
Yeah.
It's been good. I lived in Calgary when oil and gas was booming. It was interesting to see how, the economy tied to just one sector could operate in good times and bad times. So I think the one reason I love Toronto is, one of many reasons I love Toronto is that there's no specific sector that Toronto is tied to. There's a lot of different things from, tech to real estate to manufacturing. There's a lot of different things happening. A lot of people do different kind of jobs and are experiencing different industries. And I think it's a good place to be.
That's great. So let's talk a little about that transition as being an immigrant, right? Was there a culture shock coming from Russia to here?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You're from the west coast of Russia, right? By the coast.
Yes, from the east.
Coast.
East.
Sorry.
The place is called Vladivostok in Russian, and it's similar to Vancouver, San Francisco, surrounded by water from three sides. You're just 3 hours from the border with China. So, here you'll go and spend 3 hours in the car and get to Muskoka. In Vladivostok, you can go 3 hours and be in China.
Amazing.
And
do people do that?
You go for the weekend. Just similar to, you'd drive or go to New York for the weekend. You would go to China for the weekend and just spend time there. So do a lot of that. You can go to Korea or Japan in about an hour. Very close to North Korea and South Korea. So it's different culturally.
Yeah.
Climate is milder, similar to Vancouver. And when you got to Canada, it was cold.
Yeah.
Calgary was very cold.
So Canada's colder than that part of Russia.
I've never had to buy an actual winter jacket.
Oh, really?
It would rain, it would snow, twice a season, and not that bad.
Jeez, welcome to
Canada.
Canada.
You would never have to get, a toque. I actually had to learn what a toque meant when I moved to Canada. Got my first winter jacket and got used to it. So that was probably one of the hardest things. Language. It's a different language. Different mannerisms, I would say. One of the things I learned in Russia, nobody asks you, how are you? When you meet someone, you say, hey, how's it going? In Russia, you just don't ask that. You just don't, because unless you really care, you just don't ask, because you don't want to listen to everyone's problems. So never, ever. So at first, when I moved to Canada, when people used to ask me that, I would really give them my whole life story. And then somebody tapped me on the shoulder and said, hey, that's not how you do it. You just say you're okay. I'm like, well, but why are they asking if they don't care? So that was one of the things I learned. Yeah, it was.
That's actually a joke. So that was a major difference you saw right from the beginning.
I would say one of, because, you kind of.
They say Canadians are nicer, and is that part of the reason why?
With Russian people, they don't tend to sugarcoat things. If they don't like something, you'll know. And I think I carry a lot of that in my personality. I don't like sugarcoating things. I'll tell you if I have a problem with something, and we'll solve it.
Recently, I was working with somebody who just came from India. And he's like, he just, for the first time after he came and worked in Toronto, been here for 2 years, he went back home, and he was at his friend's house, and he was like, hey, can you give me some tea, please? Right? And he's like, oh, can I use your washroom? And the friend just stopped. It's like, why do you keep asking me please? Why do you keep saying please? And why do you keep saying thank you? You don't have to. You know what I mean? I have to provide this for you. They felt disrespected by them saying thank you and please.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you mean? Why are you adding all these niceties to this? Are we not friends? All right. And the guy's like, no, it's I just got used to that because of Canada. Right? He had explained to his friend, I was not joking with you.
Or if somebody steps on you, I learned that as well. If somebody steps on you when I travel, I always apologize for being in their way. It's just one thing that you pick up when you're in Canada. You're like, I'm so sorry. It's you just say I'm so sorry all the time. That's my favorite thing to say.
You apologize for everything.
Yeah.
Holding the door for way too long, I
do that all the time too. So when I visited Russia 4 years ago, the same thing. I was apologizing everywhere, people were asking me where I'm from, even though I spoke Russian.
Yeah.
Like, I'm from here. They're like, no, you're not.
Is
You're
it
not
because
like
now
us."
like you speak Russian with an accent, or?
They tell me that yes, I do speak Russian with an accent now. I also speak English with an accent, so it doesn't seem like I belong anywhere.
The immigrant life.
Toronto. It's a Toronto.
Yeah.
You said Toronto.
It's a Toronto. Yeah.
Yeah, you said Toronto.
Yeah.
Is that?
So
that-
everyone who's not,
You're here.
if you're from Toronto, you say Toronto. If you're not from Toronto,
Oh,
you say
no.
Toronto.
I adjusted myself in just 3 years. Look at
Yeah,
me.
there you go. You're now one of us. You're one of us.
Is it a bad thing or a good thing?
It's a good thing.
Oh, it just means
Toronto. Toronto.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Toronto.
Yeah. So that's the difference. That's it. If you're homeborn from here, if you're like from Toronto, you say Toronto.
Toronto.
And
Okay.
that's the main difference. That's how you know.
I like it.
Why do we even say Toronto?
I have no
How did
idea.
it came out? Like everyone just started saying Toronto.
Yeah. It's like a
When
girl.
we saw like, I only heard Toronto from like foreigners or people from outside of Canada.
Yeah. And it's only lately, like recently, I've noticed that.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
Yeah.
I'm like, why do I say Toronto?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Just
I
became part
hear
of
all
it.
of you guys speak, and I just mimic it because
Yeah.
you know.
That's what you pick up, right?
That's what you do when you don't know the language and you gotta learn. You just see what other people are doing and you just mimic that.
Yeah.
That's what I've been doing for the last 20 years.
Nice.
Immigrant life. Everyone
Hey,
here.
it's working for you.
Yeah.
I can understand you, so it's fine.
Yeah.
You're good. You're killing it.
So like, let's talk a little bit about that. Like, Toronto is one of the most multicultural cities in the world, right? Like, how has it been coming here? Like,
Amazing.
Was it a shock for your system?
I know. So I think coming from Calgary, I always loved Toronto.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Now you're
because-
overthinking it.
Yeah, now I'm overthinking it.
Subconscious every
Yeah.
time.
Is it? How should I say it? No, I love the city because it is so multicultural. There's so many different things to do. There's a lot of events going on all the time. And one of the things I learned when I moved here from Calgary is there's a lot of burnout going to happen if you do not pace yourself. Because when I moved here, the first thing I did, I told myself that I'm going to do everything. I'm going to attend every event, every festival, meet every person, do everything, say yes to everything. And that is impossible in the city because there is 25 things happening every single day
Yeah.
that you want to attend at the same time. And you still try to make it. In the first probably 3 to 4 months when I moved here, I tried to do that every single day. I would just be out, meeting people, networking, learning. Burnt myself out, realized not sustainable. So now I got rid of fear of missing out completely.
Yeah.
And now I'm grounded and I tell myself that wherever I go, the universe will present me the proper opportunities
Yeah. Yeah.
and people. And that's how we met. So
Yeah.
you know what? It makes sense.
Exactly. Absolutely. I mean, it's kind of like the proverb, like thing you learn through youth, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
you want to do everything and everything because you're like, you don't know where you want to go,
Oh, yeah.
but you have the energy. So like this is do everything.
Well, and Toronto is perfect for opportunities
Yeah.
because it's actually giving you all of those things right at your fingertips. In Calgary, you didn't really have that. Even though you wanted to do all of those things, there's not.
The opportunity wasn't there.
Yeah, the events are not happening, 25 times a day. So maybe there's something exciting happening once a week or every 2 weeks, and you'll definitely attend that. So once you move to Toronto,
Yeah.
you really overextend yourself.
Yeah.
So that would be probably one of the
So
shocks.
Yeah,
that
I mean, Toronto is
experienced.
like an old banking town. Like,
Oh, yeah.
professionalism runs deep here, right? Worrying about your career, worrying about your job, worrying about what your future is.
Oh, yeah.
We're much more, I guess, like professional centric, in the city. That's what I've noticed from feedback from the rest of Canada.
And a lot of people move here too. So I found when I moved to Calgary, it was, not as easy to make friends because either people have been there for a while or they have their groups and cliques. And not a lot of people live downtown. A lot of people live in the suburbs outside of the city. Here, everybody lives downtown. A lot of young professionals, who came here for work, whether they moved from another city or from another country. It's easy to make friends, and everybody, I found for myself, everybody is more open.
Yeah.
So it was not a problem to find people, do things. You just have to make sure that you set those boundaries and make sure that you get yourself time to restore.
Yeah.
And ground yourself back into your values and morals and go and paint.
Yeah.
Do yoga, I don't know, whatever
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
floats your boat.
No doubt. I mean, I think that's a cultural shift the city experienced too. Like, the past 10 years, not even 10 years, maybe like even like 5 years really, when people have become more open to meeting and changing.
Oh yeah.
I mean, before it used to be very closed, like we used to be a
Really?
very conservative city. It's a banking city.
Well, see, I
Right,
wouldn't
so-
know because I just moved 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So for me,
So you came in right at-
amazing.
Yeah, you came in a state of change where everyone's become more like the Silicon Valley tech style.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we want to go out for coffee. Let's get drinks. Let's go meet. Let's go to these events. Let's go meet new people. Right? It used to be before like I do my own thing. Why are you talking to me?
Oh no.
Right?
I'm
Like,
so
easy-
sorry.
yeah, yeah, right?
You had to experience that. I'm so sorry.
Well, I don't think so. I mean, like, I think experience is a perfect time to growth. So
Yeah.
you can evaluate the difference in the environment and,
Oh, yeah.
and how people are with each other. And this is the best time to take advantage of that. Like, new generation, especially coming up, new professionals are definitely
Absolutely.
different. They're open to meeting up. Even the old ones have changed their ways, right? The old boys clubs are broken down, right? Like, there's
Yeah,
changes among
WeWork
boys.
spaces, workhouse spaces. Everybody now has, there's a bunch of different co-working spaces popping up where you can get a desk or an office. And I think a lot of startups are preferring that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's lots of hubs on university campuses, as I found out. But there's a lot of like startups that I see. They just work out of co-working spaces because they get resources. They find like-minded entrepreneurs. They find like-minded people and businesses, and a lot of advisors there as well. So it builds this community right in the center of the city, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, so going back to the companies you see, right? Do you see a lot of companies that come out of these kind of incubators, accelerators, like, or do they, organically grow by themselves? They come out of existing companies. Like,
Yeah.
where do they come out of? Where are they forming?
Ooh, interesting question. I see all kinds of things. So there's a couple companies that do an incubator or accelerator after accelerator, because each accelerator or incubator helps them to develop different products, different strategies, helps them with different stage of their startup. There's some companies that I've seen that people with 20, 30 years of experience working in a marketing firm or an agency of some sort that build up their credibility and skill set, and they realize there's a problem that the agency is not solving. So they decided that they're going to create their own thing. And right off the bat, as they create their own company, they hit $1 million mark in revenue the same year. So different path, because there's also some smaller companies that kind of slowly get to their MVP, then try to scale, develop their product market, problem solution fit, and get that inflection point and start scaling very fast, hockey stick growth.
Yeah.
And I see all of them. Like, it just depends, and you can't even say, what's the best thing to start if you would start a company right now, because marketing agencies have different paths. Software companies, platforms, apps. It depends what you're interested in. I think if you're passionate about something, it doesn't really matter where you're coming from.
Yeah.
As long as you're willing to learn and work hard, because as they say, hard work beats talent if talent doesn't work hard.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's great you touched upon that, being like passion being the unique identifier amongst the variety of startups or variety of companies being formed. Because everyone who's a serious investor, or even like people who see deal flow like you, like a lot of different kind of companies, all say the same thing. Like, you cannot evaluate if a company is going to work or not out of just purely metrics, because there's so many different things to look at.
there's so many variables.
Yeah.
You never know, and it depends on the industry. If somebody's making right now an app or a platform in real estate, who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah.
It's very difficult to predict. So
But investing on the passion of the entrepreneur can double down on that. So, I mean, that's one of the things that we talk about a lot, like in the startup industry, right? It's like, focus on your passions,
oh yeah,
right? If you're going to build something, because that'll ride you through the ups and downs of what you're trying to build. But there's still a lot of people who try to just build something just cuts, right? Like, oh, I see this happening. This is a buzzword right now. I want to make a play at this, and they try attempt these things, but they don't stand out because you can tell they're not passionate about it, right?
It takes a different kind of person. I just recently finished a book about Airbnb and how they started.
Yeah.
And the first
Great story.
Yeah, it's fantastic how they started. And the first year, they were basically not making money. The business wasn't doing well. They got in the accelerator that year, I think. But one of the reasons why they got through all the challenges is because when their first idea wasn't working, they created the Obama-O's, the Cheerio
Yes.
that, you know, they sold, and they brought it to investors, or I think the accelerator guys, and that's what sold them on it, because the entrepreneurs were actually able to sell a product.
Yeah.
Similar to, you know, go back to the away luggage case, right? The person who sells the product that's not in the market you're trying to do, but this is just, you know, the means of getting there.
The hustle.
Shows,
mentality.
yeah, it shows the grit, the perseverance and passion for what you're doing, and you're trying to do whatever it takes, whatever it takes to get you there.
Yeah.
So I think that's important.
That's amazing. You're absolutely right on that. Like the grit and the hustle behind the entrepreneur really gets the idea moving. That's what helps with execution, right? You get to get to the final form. So let's close up with BDC and what they do for entrepreneurs, right? Like if people want to engage the Business Development Bank of Canada, like how do they approach you guys, and why should they?
I mean, well, they should approach us if they want money, or if they want advisory services. So not a lot of people know that BDC has advisory services. It's, you know, the best secret we keep. So a lot of
someone like yourself, like
no. So we have an actual external team of consultants that will help entrepreneurs, and it depends on what they need. There's marketing strategy, there's expansion strategy, market expansion strategy, social media or marketing and sales, HR. So there's a lot of solutions for entrepreneurs and companies. And the more I talk about it in the, you know, in the community, a lot of people are surprised. They say, "Oh, I never knew that. I never knew BDC actually does consulting."
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that, you know, what helps me to actually love my job, because we do two things: money and consulting. And money, it depends. It can be venture capital, because BDC has a few venture capital funds, and it's debt. And it depends
on what you need.
in terms of debt. In total, through different groups, some companies that qualify can get up to $35 million in debt, right?
Yeah.
It obviously depends on what kind of company, but the idea is
What's
it's
a typical
available there.
range that companies can get at one time? Like
In my sense, though, in my group, we usually do up to $1 million. We focus on those companies. So, you know, the ones that really need the first $350,000 to get their idea started, or not idea started, but, you know, to get working capital, to scale further, to prove the concept, to actually get to the next milestone. So I would say any tech company that has revenue, preferably revenue. If they're looking potentially at VC round and, you know, maybe getting equity investors, if they can debt service, potentially looking at debt options. Because there's a few companies, you know, Clearbank, the same thing, right?
Yeah.
For some people, Clearbank would make sense, because why would I give up equity? And that's actually what
equity's so precious.
Michelle Romanoff is advocating
about,
for, right? She's saying that some people do not want to give up equity, and some people don't want to scale like that.
Yeah, I mean, the average founder would give up about 50% of the equity to reach like a successful business.
Absolutely.
Like 20 years ago. Now, the average entrepreneur holds on about 3% or 4% of his company by the time they become a successful and up and running company. And so part of the Clearbank and the lending process is being able to give alternative means of growing and access to resources without giving up that equity and the control of your company.
Absolutely, and there's a few other things. There's resources, there's grants, there's Ontario Center of Excellence, IREP. So there's a lot of organizations who can give you cash as well.
Perfect. Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you
so
for having
much
me.
for coming on the show. Right, it's been great. Thank you.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure.
Pleasure.